Welcome to this episode of Heart Matters, Living with Intention. And this week we're going to be talking about the summer of tests. James, how have you been?
Yeah, it's good. It's been a good few months. I've been fortunately really stable. I think the last time we were speaking was lockdown, the end of hopefully the last lockdown of 2021, which proved to be true so far. So things have opened up and we've had the last August bank holiday recently, and things all seem to be going in the right direction in general, as well as with me, hopefully. So it's great to be back. Thank you.
Amazing. So can you just remind us of what the diagnosis was at this stage and what happened when you left hospital?
We're back in summer 2017. I'd been in hospital for 3 days and had been diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, which is a reminder of the thickening of the heart. And so the heart is kind of struggles to pump because the walls of the heart are thicker. And that was the initial diagnosis after kind of 3 days in hospital and the tests. And when I came out of hospital then, they referred me to a specialist. It was then, kind of set me up to have, the title of the episode is Summer of Tests. There were a number of things that I need to then go into detail to really understand how progressive the condition was, how serious it was, and ultimately what's the right course of action and the next steps and really what's needed. I think it's useful also to share at this stage. So I fortunately have private healthcare in place. And one of the benefits of the private healthcare was that I was able then to get certain tests done perhaps sooner than they would have otherwise been done. And, it's worth saying as well, the NHS, throughout, and you'll hear as more the story unravels, were amazing. And those 3 days in hospital and the support with them were amazing. And I think my understanding of how the system works more and more is the integration between private and public healthcare, that they very much support each other. Obviously, if you're able to have that private healthcare, then you can kind of take a burden off the NHS. But then also the NHS, I think, comes into its own, specifically for conditions like the heart conditions where you're looked after in a more broad context, which again, I'll go into kind of a bit later on. But it was, I feel so grateful to be able to have had the private healthcare, which at the time with Vitality, because otherwise I think that uncertainty and having to wait, I think could have been more challenging, especially when you didn't know how severe things were. And so it was really a peace of mind. And I remember previously you just think, insurance, well, what's the point? You're not going to need it. Or, I'm going to say, young, healthy, living life day to day. And then this sudden shock, and it really forced me to reflect. How valuable that it was, had the opportunity to have the healthcare and the private insurance, that for exactly these scenarios, I guess it's the unpredictable thing. So if it's something that's been on your mind, anyone watching, I would definitely consider it or recommend, and I'll put might be a link in the comments so that you can have a look at that. But I feel so grateful that I did have it, and it made that summer, I'm going to say, much easier, because the speed at which then things then kind of move forward was really useful.
And obviously, having had that experience, how important do you think having private healthcare is for other people potentially considering it or watching this?
Yeah, I think that definitely if you're not sure and you've been thinking about it, I would no hesitate doing it. Again, I guess the irony of health insurance, I'm sure, is, well, when you're fit and healthy, then it's much cheaper than when then something happens. And often also insurers, some insurers don't insure people with pre-existing conditions. So then again, it's the value of making sure that you've got something before something is discovered. And it's kind of that catch-22. I would definitely recommend it. In hindsight, it's been a really great support for me. Coming back, I guess, over that summer then, in terms of the kind of the summer of tests, the first thing that I ended up having was a 48-hour heart monitor. So I was wearing, it was attached to me in a strap. It was all external. it took my blood pressure and then also the heart monitor kind of rating. I remember actually I had to speak at an event, and I decided, kind of trying to live life as normal, and it was speaking. I'm going to talk in other episodes a bit more about the company I was running at the time, but going on stage and underneath my shirt having all these kind of wires and different things, and thinking, is this going to pick up, if I'm nervous on stage, and how sensitive it is, and what's this, what are the readings going to show? But it was, again, I felt very looked after, and the doctor was really great. So we did that. That was the first heart monitor, kind of 48 hours. The next thing that really I didn't like, and I had a number of them since, something called a right heart catheter. They go in through the vein in your neck, and they go into the heart, and it's whilst you're awake. And this is, I can't even believe it, actually, as I'm sharing it also, that I've had this procedure a few times. One is like how they even discovered how this was possible. It's like, oh, and or to be the first patient to be like, right, we're going to try this and see how this works. It was like, oh my God. So I was very grateful that people before me had been through this process. So what happens is they go through the neck, and it's into the heart, and then it's to ultimately see the pressure of what's going on and how the heart's functioning. Based on that, they can then see the severity of what's going on and how the heart's actually functioning. So you also do it whilst you're awake, so that you can breathe, and you need to do certain things kind of whilst they're doing the procedure, so they can actively kind of monitor and see. And so, those are the first two tests that they did, kind of separated by a few weeks. And what was interesting about those tests is, both of them independently came back and didn't show anything that was very significant or anything I'm going to say to seriously worry about. And then they also installed a device that was kind of about the size of my small finger, and in the middle of my chest. They actually also did this whilst I was awake as well, which is also, to be honest, it was maybe the worst part of all the tests in the summer, that I was lying there, and pre-operation, you could hear the voices, and then I think suddenly my blood pressure dropped, and I just heard someone going, give him 50 cc of this and do this, and you're kind of all like, oh my God. But it was fine in the end, but there were definitely moments where I could like feel myself getting quite lightheaded, and I thought I was going to faint or not. And obviously I was in the right place if anything did go wrong, and it was all fine in the end. But it was definitely like traumatic, and that uncertainty, and not wanting to be in hospital at the best of times. And it was just, I would have rather not have been awake for that one. But that was probably, from a procedure perspective, it just wasn't enjoyable. I think it was fine. It was a very standard, like, small complication that they had all under control. But just in that moment, there was definitely a bit of anxiety around it, and it was just a small scar. And what was amazing about that technology that they then put in me, so it was a progression of the 48-hour heart monitor. This then monitored my heart 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it would automatically send data to the doctors. So every night it would just do a 24-hour, every morning it would just send it over. And if I felt like I had an episode, or I felt a bit in pain, or there was something I was concerned about, I could click a button on this device next to my bed, and it would then send the data to the doctors. And then I could call up the doctor and be like, is there anything that I should be concerned about?
Yeah.
Or anything. So, and again, what was great, I'm going to say, is that like peace of mind. And over the summer, all of those things kind of adding up, there was no specific alerts. There was nothing that I should have been concerned about, really, individually. So each of the kind of the feedback from each doctor, for each person I saw, because it was a few different doctors, suggested, okay, this seems stable, and this, so that was kind of I'm going to say, so far, definitely so far so good.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like I'm looking forward to the next session. We're going to go into that a little bit more detailed and adjusting to the sort of new normal that came after that. So yeah, make sure to join us for our next episode. Thanks for watching, and feel free to check out the British Heart Foundation, Cardiomyopathy UK and Save 9 Lives for more information. Feel free to comment on the video and subscribe too.